I've heard that Google is going to start identifying AI generated content and will cause you to lose ranking when it comes to SEO. Is there any truth to this, Chuck? You're probably on top of this based on what you do for businesses.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways to use AI to make content. One is to go to ChatGPT and say, write an article about bathroom remodeling. And then just taking that content and posting it on your blog or whatever. I think that content might work now, but it's not gonna work for long because it doesn't add anything new, it doesn't add any value. ChatGPT is not gonna create a whole lot of new stuff because it's literally just taking the most probable things that were already said in the past and putting those together in new order, but it's saying the same shit. So the way that we use ChatGPT to write content, but the way that we do it is we record ourselves or our clients talking about their topics, giving their opinions, talking about their specific situations they were in, telling stories basically. And then we prompt ChatGPT to use their exact wording and to take what they said and tweak it just enough to turn it into a cohesive piece of content and then post that. And just logically, I don't think Google will punish that because it's valuable. It's unique and it's valuable. Anybody who's trying to make content for SEO for their local business, I would make content about your location, like your locale. Like, talk about what you're doing. We did this bathroom, we did it in this building. This building has these issues because it was built in this year in this city. They use these methods. We have earthquakes in our area. You know, like, talk about your specific stuff. Make it valuable to you and interesting to you, and then it will be valuable and interesting to the people around you. And you can use ChatGPT to help you put these things together. Just make sure that you're instructing it to use your wording and like preserve as much of you in it as possible. And I don't see that content getting hit because it's the stuff you're saying. It's not being produced by the AI.
So Google doesn't inherently hate stuff that's AI generated. They just hate stuff that's generic and doesn't provide value.
Exactly.
That could be AI written or human written.
Yeah.
That content's bad content.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you can use AI to actually produce high quality, valuable original content, which you said the method by voice recording yourself, talking about your stuff, and then having it kind of like restructure it.
Yeah. Like the way that I do it is I have the ChatGPT app. I do voice to text. I will say, hey, ChatGPT, I want to write an article. Let's make an outline. And then I'll just talk to it and I'll talk about my ideas. I'll tell stories. It'll put it into an outline format. And then I'll look at it and I'll say, forget this part. Let's add a part in here, and I'll talk to it. And then I'll say, okay, turn the words that I said into an article, use my exact wording as much as possible. Don't make anything up. And then it'll turn the outline into an article. I'll copy and paste it into Google Docs. I use Google Docs. And then I will edit it myself. So my editing style is simple. I read it out loud and I will change words as I would change them the way that I would say them. And then I publish it. So cool. Anybody can do that.
Yeah, so chuck in a truck. Yeah. I love that term.
That's like a really hot term lately.
Yeah.
And then everyone says it and then they look at me, they're like,
I thought Melissa made it up to use your name in a phrase.
Everybody's saying
it's actually a thing.
It's like a thing that I didn't hear before 2 months ago, and now like everyone's saying it.
Yeah. So chuck in a truck, like we talked about in some previous videos, could voice memo on their phone, driving between job sites, talk about the work that they're doing, the city that they live in, the problems they're facing, whatever. Get home, load that into ChatGPT. In 30 seconds, it's taken that voice memo, turned it into an article, and then they can post that. Beautiful.
Exactly. And it makes it possible for people who might not feel like they're good writers to produce content.
Totally.
And what's extra cool about that is like if you're posting a blog, well, you probably want to post that on Facebook, maybe LinkedIn. And so you can you can do your editing and then copy paste it back in and say, hey, here's my edited article. I need, make me 3 Facebook posts that are about 3 to 5 sentences long and about this topic, and use my exact words whenever possible. And so now you're creating content for other platforms in a couple minutes using your words. It just speeds up the production, and it's stuff that most people wouldn't do.
Yeah.
They wouldn't take the time to do it.
Yep.
It's just possible now. And the reason that this whole topic of conversation's even a thing is because there's so many people using AI right now, but they're all using it in the laziest, least creative way possible. They're like, write me an article on this.
Right.
And so there's people build automated programs that are making these kind of articles and publishing them. So the size of the internet might have been this big a year ago, and now it's like this big because all of the shit is AI generated. And that's what Google has to combat. Google has to find a way to filter all of this crap out.
Yeah.
Or else people are going to stop using the platform because all they're going to find are valueless articles that were written by robots.
Right.
So if you want to stand out, then you have to create unique, valuable stuff. And that's easy. You just tell your own stories and use these tools to turn your stories into content.
Yeah, and I imagine that Google's filtering probably hasn't really changed that much, because if they used AI detection to punish people, well, that would be so dumb, because they obviously know what a powerful tool AI is going to be for people who do create value-packed articles like you and I.
Yeah, and AI detection doesn't work all that great.
Right.
You can run the same article through the same tool and it'll give you different scores.
Yeah.
I've heard of a lot of people who put their own writing into these tools and it says it was AI generated.
Exactly.
So that's not a good measure of whether or not something's valuable.
Yeah, so they're gonna the same, because they've always been trying to get rid of spammy articles. Spammy articles aren't a new thing.
Yeah.
AI. It's been happening for 20 years.
What's changing the fastest for them, I think, is they're using AI to try to do what they've been trying to do the whole time, which is find the value. And I think they do a lot of that these days with engagement metrics. So like when you post a YouTube video, they'll show the video to a sample size of people. And then if those people watch it, like it, comment, share it, then they'll show it to more people. And if those people do the same, they'll keep showing it to more. That's called going viral. If they show it to those 100 people and people don't watch more than 2 seconds of it, then they just stop showing it to people, because the algorithm says this isn't valuable based off of, like, these people told us it's not valuable. They do the same thing with blogs and stuff.
Well, yeah, because that's based on if someone searched that term, did they click on your link? And if they did, how much time did they spend on page? Stuff like that, right?
Yeah, they're watching everything everybody does. Everyone who has an Android phone is giving Google data. Not everyone, because there's some de-Googled phones out there.
Cool. Yeah, and I think that solves a lot of the comments where people go, oh, I find, someone else on this video said, I find it very inaccurate so far. And I have a strong feeling it's just the case of they're not giving it enough. They're probably doing what you said. Write me an article about bathroom remodels.
Well, yeah. I don't use ChatGPT to create any finished products besides what
just
I'm
modifying your source material.
Yes.
Same.
I use it for a lot of brainstorming. I use it to take notes. I use it to brainstorm, and I already said that, but that's like the main thing I use it for.
Yeah.
But I'm always the last filter and editor for everything, because I understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you don't understand what you're talking about, you can't really use these tools yet, because you're just having faith that the tool knows. And what is that going to do for your business? Unless your business is spamming and getting tons of eyeballs for valueless stuff that may or may not be correct. There's a lot of businesses like that. But, for most like regular small business people, you're the expert. Share your expertise. Use these tools to turn your words into writing so that you don't have to sit in front of a computer and type this stuff out, because you won't do it.
Yeah.
It takes too much time. So, another concept, and I don't know how much this applies, but AI presents a new approach to creative process. Like the old creative process was like, do step 1 and then do step 2 and do step 3, and then by the time you get to the last step, like, you have this complete thing. With AI, it's more like a scanner. It's like do steps 1 through 10, and then do steps 1 through 10 again, and then do steps 1 through 10 again. And each time you do it, it gets a little clearer, a little better, a little more valuable, a little higher quality. And you do that 4 or 5 times, and you're able to do it way faster, but like you're doing the whole thing over and over because you're able to do it so quickly.
Yeah.
And that's how I use these tools, is like, do this with this information, boom, okay, give it better instructions, do it again. Give it better instructions, do it again. And each time we get a little closer to what I want until we're close enough that I'm like, okay, I'll take it from here and I'll finish the last little bit.
Yep.
I save 90% of the time that it used to take to do certain things.
Yeah, well, it makes a lot of those in between steps maybe optional. It like short circuits it, because if like step 1 is record the voice memo, step 2 is write an outline, step 3 is, create the intro sentences for each paragraph. You know what I mean? Like if you take a regular writing approach, and then step 10 is having a finished article, you can go straight from step 1, record that voice memo, straight to step 10 now.
Yeah.
And step 10 might be perfect, or it might be 90% of the way there.
Yeah.
And then you can go back and figure out which steps you want to like. So it might make all those steps optional. That's what I love.
Totally. And it changes the whole approach. Like for writing an article now, if I'm starting with just base GPT with no instructions, then I'll just open voice to text. I'll say, we're going to write an article on this story. And then I'd just sit there and I'd tell the story, 5-10 minute story. And then I'd press go. And I might say like, make an outline of this story, just to be able to see it myself. Like, okay, here's the outline. Is there anything I want to throw in there? Yes or no? If there isn't, maybe I'll just delete that step and just say, okay, cool, turn that into an article and see what it does.
Yeah.
And then I might go back and do it again, but give it instructions like talk like a Spartan, because giving it that instruction seems to make it a lot less fluffy and talk more like a real person. And that's what I meant when I said like give it no instructions in the beginning, because you start with a prompt of some sort.
Yeah.
And if you're doing these articles all the time, each time you do it, your starting prompt gets a little better.
Yeah.
And so by the 20th article, like you have a prompt that might allow you to just say your story and it spits out an article exactly how you like it, and it becomes like a totally new process. So you're skipping all those interim steps.
Heck yeah.
It just depends. Like if I was doing a lot of estimates, I'd be using this all the time. I would talk through the project and have the AI like brainstorm what things we need to include. I could upload my pricing for labor, materials, and have it help me price some things out. Of course, I'm going to check all that stuff. You can have it spit out a spreadsheet as a starting point for you to put together the estimate in a spreadsheet form. I would say what things might go wrong. I might say this building was built in 1952 in this area, and maybe it will have some information for me. Maybe there's information I can put in and have it help me with. So there's like all sorts of things to do, and there's no YouTube video, there's no course that's gonna teach you how to do this. Like you just go do it. It's $20 a month. It's voice to text. You don't even have to type. And just start using it while you're doing your day-to-day stuff. Say, hey, this is what I'm doing right now. This is how I'm doing it. What are some ways I might do it better? And it'll give you a ton of ideas, and maybe one of those ideas will trigger an idea in your own head to change your process a little bit, make it better. And when you do that all the time, every day, after a month or two, like you start to understand how this tool works, because it works in the darkness. And it works unlike any tool that there ever was. And it's like using like hand tools. Like anyone can saw a board, but like only a few people can saw a perfect line and a perfect cut and do it quickly and efficiently and do that every time. And it's something you just learn. It's a skill you learn by doing it. It's the same with AI. It's like you learn by using it. That's the only way to learn.